think it's very interesting how it happened and overnight, what you had to do. First you got on in fact there were two rafts, and then you got the two rafts together, you tied them up together, and about how many people were on that, and then, why do I have to tell you?
Well, I'm listening to you, yeah.
And then after that, then you noticed that one of the lifeboats was in the water, but it was sunken.
Yeah.
And all you could see was the rim of it.
Yeah.
So you had to go over and empty it.
Right.
And you're the one who jumped in to empty it.
Right.
Because you knew that there should be a bucket tied on as a safety device. He knew that was part of the lifeboat should be like that.
Yeah.
There should be a bucket with this tied up under the water. So he found the bucket and he started
bailing it out.
Well,
Okay.
the other people were still on the raft.
Okay, well, let's start then, how the day was, you know, what year was this? What year was this that this happened?
1942.
Okay.
May of 1942.
So we were at war at that time?
Oh, sure. We were at war from December 7th of 41.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And so you were assigned, what was your job on this ship?
Engineer.
So where were you when this event happened?
I was on watch down below in the engine room.
Okay.
I had the 8 to 12 watch.
Right.
8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight.
Okay. Did you get any warning?
No.
Did you hear anything unusual before the torpedo hit?
No. I couldn't hear a thing because I was down below in the engine room.
And there's noise there.
And the engine, you know, is making all the noise, clanking up and down, just as normal.
Okay.
But when it hit,
Yeah.
I heard it. It made a big whoop, like that.
What was the name of that ship?
Nicaragua.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right.
And then the whole ship shook. We had orders that if we get hit, to get out fast, because it was an old ship, what they call like a rust bucket. So when it hit, I was just having my coffee. The oiler had just brought the coffee, and I was drinking the coffee at 9 o'clock, and at 9:15 was when the torpedo hit, and it blew a big hole in the ship. And the ship went down in 5 minutes. It just disappeared.
Well, you have
But to me,
yeah, you have to tell what you did.
oh, so the oiler, I sent him out, get out, then I went to the fire room and helped the firemen turn off the fires in the boilers so they wouldn't be still burning. I had shut the engine down so there's no more propeller going around, and then we got out. But when we getting out of the fire room, the ladder that got out was all hanging, just had like been blown off its hinges. So we got out, I went into my room, and I got, foolishly, instead of having my papers, my Siemens papers, in my pocket, I had left them in the drawer up in the room. So I went up to get them. I think I remember going through the screen door. Okay, I got my wallet and papers, put them in my pocket, grabbed the life jacket that was over the railing there, went to the aft end of the ship, and it was about 3 feet to the water.
Already.
Already, from the height down to about 3 feet. So when I was just arriving and deciding to get off, the chief engineer came along, and he had a bundle, his survival bundle, and he said, I'm going to jump in, and after I jump in, throw the bundle after me. Well, he jumped in, I threw the bundle after him. I never saw him after that, nobody did. And I practically didn't have to jump, I just stepped off and the water was there. I swam out about, say, 25, 50 feet, turned around, and the ship was going straight down. And the propeller was just going slowly, you know, this.
What I can't understand is that it didn't roar, that the ship went down so smoothly and it didn't pull the water and you back in again. Why didn't it do that? Did it fill up with water?
It doesn't always do that.
No?
The ship, you know.
It must have made a big enough hole to fill the water
Yeah.
in the bay.
Anyway, I saw the ship go down. I saw the big gun that they had on the after end there. It looked like a telephone pole. That was pointing straight up in the air. And I swam over to the life raft. Now, the captain on the ship was known for his discipline. And as soon as it hit, he had everything planned. Like the engine gets shut down, everybody leaves. And all the people on deck, they lower the life rafts, they lower the lifeboats. One lifeboat was stuck. I found this out later on. One lifeboat was stuck, the other one fell off into the water. So all we had was life rafts. And we had, I think, 15 on one and 16 on the other. There were two of them that they found. So we stayed on the life rafts all night.
How many people were there?
Well,
You said 16 or 15?
16, 31.
Yeah,
31.
right.
So it was cold at night. You know, and I think I gave my shirt to somebody who was naked. Then I was naked. But
They
anyway.
probably were in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were dressed for your,
Yeah.
your
Now,
watch.
we lost 9 people. They were in the forward section of the ship. And that just went down first. So the next morning,
Well, you had to do something on the rafts first, before the next morning, didn't you? Didn't you tie 2 rafts together?
oh yeah, we tied 2 rafts together so that they wouldn't float distances apart. So everybody would be stuck together. And there's no food on the raft, just the raft. Then the next morning, what happened next morning? Oh, we saw this lifeboat that had blown off the ship, floating in the water, but it was filled to the gunnels with water. So,
To the gunnels?
yeah.
What are gunnels?
The edges.
Oh, okay. That's the name of the edges.
Yes, the edges.
Gunnels.
And so somebody had to go in and bail it out to make it usable. So I jumped in, went over where I knew where the bucket was supposed to be tied. It was there. I untied it and started to bail. I don't know, I must have bailed for about an hour. And one bucket out, another bucket came in. One bucket out, because you know the waves are about 2 feet high at that time. And you take water out, water would come in. And finally, it started to get a little bit.
Well, you had the men hold the boat steady.
They were holding the boat
Steady, so
steady,
the
so-
water wouldn't go back in.
Yeah. And then I guess somebody else got in there and relieved me. And the boat came up. It was perfectly emptied of water. Everybody piled in. Now, everybody piled in, and the bow was still on near the life raft, so I got in. That's how I got into the bow of the boat. And the captain, naturally, he got into the stern of the lifeboat. And then we floated around all day. We had...
You said there must have been some food on that.
On the lifeboat, there was some food, emergency food.
And how did they get that? Keep that in there without it floating out in the water?
Well, it's tied down.
Well, it's also
Everything
tied
is tied down. Oars, sails,
Okay.
and they had a cask of water. I think maybe it had about 5 gallons in it. And a cup, tin cup, and a waterproof package of hardtack. Little square biscuits.
Yeah.
So that's all we had to eat. So everybody got a quarter of a hardtack and a small amount of water, and that was it. No more food, no more rations. And about
Because you ran out of rations, or because you decided not to eat them?
we're out of them.
Out of them?
Yeah.
Okay,
It went around once and that was it. It wasn't
okay.
supposed to be 30, now they got 31 people in that boat. And each one got a little bit of hardtack and a little bit of water, and it was finished. Then about 6 o'clock at night,
The next day.
the next day, we saw a
Tanker.
tanker way in the distance. And we had put up a sail.
Oh, yeah.
Each lifeboat had a sail, so we put that up. So it was a nice visible thing. And they saw us from that distance. And they were fully loaded, coming up from the Caribbean oil fields. And they came closer and closer and closer. We knew then that they had seen us. When he came by close on the loud hailer, you know, they have a big loud thing, they hollered down, I guess the captain did it, are there any submarines in the area? Because that was a trick of the Germans to put people in a lifeboat and then hide someplace until another boat comes along to rescue them. And the rule was in those days, the ship should not stop for to rescue anybody. Otherwise they get sunk themselves. Anyway, this captain did stop. He came by and he kept moving, but he hollered down, are there any submarines in the area? No, everybody shouted no, because we hadn't seen any. So he said he's going to make a turn around and come back and make a pass and stop, and everybody climbs out. He's going to drop the cargo nets over the side, and everybody's going to climb up. So he made his turn. It must have taken him about 10 minutes to make the turn around slowly. And a loaded tanker takes about a mile to stop. It's not just like coming up there and putting your brakes on. So he had to come up, and you could hear the engines going in reverse or slowing down from a big, long distance away, maybe a mile. And he came up right alongside the lifeboat. Everybody scrambled out.
And because you were at the bow.
Because I was at the bow, when they threw a line down to hold the lifeboat, I grabbed it. Okay? So there I was, standing in the bow, the lifeboat going up and down, all these men climbing up the rope,
Scrambling up the netting.
climbing up the cargo net and disappearing above. When the last one was up, it was my turn. Now the lifeboat was bouncing in and out and in and out, and I had to catch it just right when it was in, still holding onto the rope so that the thing wouldn't drift away. Finally, I made it to the cargo net, climbed up, and when I got up to the deck, that's all I remember. I don't remember anything
after that.
I don't remember. It took us 3 days to get to where we were going to go, and I don't remember from the thing. I guess I was in shock or something, and we were glad to be on so-called like dry land.
Yeah, exhausted too.
Yeah. So then we got to Norfolk, Norfolk, Virginia, and I guess they unloaded the oil, they unloaded the passengers, and we were interrogated, you know, what would happen, so they could make a record of it. Then they gave us, the Red Cross gave me this nice sweater.
He still has.
Still have the sweater, and a chance to make a phone call home, and a ticket to run the railroad to get home. And now, in the meantime, since the ship went down, and there was the radio operator had just, I guess, gotten off a message about being torpedoed, and they heard nothing else after that. The company assumed that the ship was lost with all hands. So someone in the office made telephone calls to the next of kin.
Oh.
And my folks got the message that the ship was sunk and all hands were on it. Okay? Now, 3 days later, I was able to make that telephone call.
You were resurrected.
I was resurrected.
Yeah,
And then they knew that I was okay.
That was really some experience. Boy,
Oh yeah, about the coconuts.
yeah.
You know, while we're sitting on the raft in the morning when daylight came, here's all these coconuts floating all over the place. You know, why all the coconuts?
You didn't know it.
Didn't know
at
at
what
that
was
time.
for.
I only found out, you know, years later what a valuable cargo that was.
were the coconuts full of milk or were they emptied of
No,
milk?
no, just right off the tree.
Right off the tree, the green husks is on them?
No, just the
Brown.
inside, the nut,
Okay,
just the nut, the brown nut,
right.
okay?
Yeah.
And that,
And going back, how did I get on that ship? I was only on it for a week because I was sailing out of New Orleans. But this ship was leaving from Tampa, Florida, and they needed an engineer. So they flew me from New Orleans over to Tampa, Florida, and I got on the ship at about 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, and as soon as I got there, the gangplank came up and the ship left. Okay, then we went down from Tampa around the western end of Cuba, a place where they had, just the week before, they had sunk about 24 ships in that week, the submarines in there. But we got through anyway and got into Jamaica, the harbor, Kingston, Jamaica, and passed Port Royal and tied up at the dock. Now, they wouldn't let any ships in or out of that harbor for a whole week because of the submarine activity out there. At the end of a week, they loaded us with mail, all the mail that had accumulated, all the records, I think, mail from the embassies and stuff like that, and a cargo. I didn't know what the cargo was, but it was just a general cargo. Going down, we had dynamite, cement, aviation gasoline, lumber, and all the construction materials loaded onto the ship. That's the cargo we carried going down. It was a valuable cargo because they were building an airport out by Port Royal, and they needed all these things, the dynamite and whatever else they needed, the construction materials, cement, so they sent us out. And when we got there, they closed the port. We stayed there for a week, then they loaded us up with the mail and whatever the cargo was and sent us out. We were the only ship to go out that whole week. And we went out from Kingston, Jamaica, up through the Windward Passage, and when we got to Watling Island, or San Salvador, where Columbus landed, that's where the submarines were packing. And that's when we got hit. And the ship went down in 5 minutes, and the rest of the story I told before.
Did you, after this whole experience, did you get back on another ship?
Oh yeah. I was home for 2 weeks because I was recuperating from, my chest was heavy from the explosion, you know, like compressed. It was a little hard to breathe. But after 2 weeks, then the company sent me out to San Francisco on another ship. And we did traveling to the islands out there with cargo. It was a refrigerated ship, so we carried meat and
What, to Hawaii?
Hawaii, Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor, yeah, Ford Island, Pearl Harbor. And we did that trip from May of 41, May of 42 to December of 42.
Back and forth a number of times?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Took us about 5 days. And it was a very fast ship, twin screw, turbo electric. And
The fuel in those days was what, coal?
oil,
Oil,
oil.
okay.
And we were very efficient in burning the oil. No smoke come out, stack. Once we were asked to escort a convoy of about 6 or 8 ships, maybe 10, and they were all slow ships. Now we went 18 knots, and this convoy went 5 to 6 knots, and the ships were old and they were smoking all over the place, and we had to escort them. It took 15 days.
Were there submarines out there though? These
Oh,
were
sure,
the Japanese
Japanese
submarines?
submarines, right off the harbor, San Francisco and Hawaii.
They lose a lot of ships on in that area too?
Yeah, they were doing their job. Then after that, make a long story short, I was able to make arrangements to transfer to the Army on the mine planters. And I stayed in the as an engineer on the mine planter until I guess it was August of 45, after the war anyway.
Where did you live when you were on the mine planter?
Where did I live? Right on the mine planter.
Okay,
I had my own room.
okay. So it didn't dock every day?
This was harbor,
New York Harbor?
New York Harbor, and we planted the mines between Sandy Hook and Coney Island, Fort Tilden in that area.
Right.
And you went out and you planted the mines, and then you came in. We only did night work when there was an emergency. The mines were as big as Volkswagens. And we worked out of Sandy Hook, Fort Hancock. But we lived right on the ship, day and night.
Okay. I thought, so how often did you get back home? You were close to home because you lived on Long Island, you know, your house was in Hicksville.
You could go home on weekends sometimes.
Sometimes if we were at Sandy Hook, it was too far to get home. But sometimes we would go up to Governor's Island and dock. For some reason or other, I know, official reason or something. And we would stay up there for a day maybe, or 2 days, or 3 days. And then I could just hop on the ferry over to New York, take the subway up to Penn Station and Long Island Station rather, and go home. But I had to come back the next day. And not every time, because others wanted a chance too. So I did get to go home once in a while.
Right. And that you were in the Army for that?
Army for that, yeah.
And you got the GI Bill covered in.
Yeah, then I was eligible for the GI Bill.
Right.
Which was
And
a lot.
Yeah, then after the war was over, then I applied to Hofstra University, or Hofstra College at that time, and I was accepted, and I went to college. And I finished the 3.5 years. I went all year long and summers, and finished up in October of 49. Yeah, I graduated in 49. 46, 47, 47, 48, 49, 49, yeah.
So you were 28 years old at that point?
Yeah. In the meantime...
And then Mom comes along somewhere in this?
Yeah.
About a year after that or so?
Yeah. dancing?
About 48, 49. The last part of my college years.
Yeah.
So Mom, what were you doing during the war?
I went to high school
You were in high school.
from 41 to 45, I guess. No, 44. Graduated in 44, I think. Yeah, and then I took the secretarial course that went to 45. That's when I got my first job in the city.
That was while the war was going on?
Yep. And the war ended, I think, while I was there too, like, was it VE Day? Was there a VE Day?
Every
Something like-
day.
A VJ Day and a VE? Europe. That was Europe first?
Europe was first.
Yeah, the VE Day.
Mm-hmm.
Then came VJ Day.
Yeah,
That was the big day.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. A lot of excitement,
And you worked in Rockefeller Center?
right? In the International Building, just across the street from St. Patrick's.
Above the ice skating rink.
Yeah. I had my desk, I sat with a huge window behind my back, and all I had to do was turn around and look out, and there would be the Prometheus in Rockefeller Center, and then when they had the ice skating rink when the winter came, and oh, the beautiful Christmas tree. And every year they had that huge tree. It's so beautiful. It's dark when you go home in the winter, you know, at 5 o'clock when it was time to go home. It was all lit up, right? It's a really nice place to work.
So you would, from there you would have to get down to Penn Station to catch the train.
Yeah. Walk 3 blocks to the subway. Took the subway on 53rd Street down to, was it 42nd?
34th.
34th, yeah.
Long Island Railroad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
And take the train to Hempstead?
sometimes if I wanted to go that way, but usually it was to Freeport.
Okay.
Yeah. See, our town was in the middle of Hempstead and Freeport,
Right.
so you could go either way.
And then how did you get from the train station to your home? There was a bus?
A bus from Freeport. You take a bus,
Right.
and the same would happen if you were in Hempstead. You take a bus to Roosevelt.
Right. Yeah, I remember the buses. It was
Yeah.
back in the 50s.
Yeah.
So we used to take them, you'd take me on those buses
Yeah.
to go,
Where did we go?
we'd go to Hempstead.
Yeah. What did we do?
We went shopping at A&S or something
Really?
like that.
I took you and Mark together?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, we used to get on the bus to go places.
Oh, gee.
Most times we went as a family, you know, where
Yeah.
you drove the
Yes,
car,
yes.
drove the car
Right,
in, but
right.
sometimes in the middle of the week we would just
Yeah.
get on the bus, I remember.
Oh, I can't remember taking both of you at once.
Well, they behaved.
Yeah, they behaved.
Yeah, right.
What else?
Now we, okay, well, I'll pause it now, come back another time maybe, and then we can talk about where you met.
Oh,
All right, we'll get a separate tape of that.